Take it away, Nora.
Okay, thanks, Christine. I don't know how these Mastermind Mondays happen without you, so I'm glad you're joining us every Monday. Anyway, it's really great to be here, our first Mastermind of 2023. And I thought it would be great to introduce Will Catlin here from Boston Realty Advisors as learning how to navigate commercial real estate referrals, since that's something that I knew I needed to learn a little bit more about, because I had a couple of commercial real estate referrals that I could have made that I didn't really do a great job on making a referral or connecting that I really could do referrals off of it. But in the interim, I'd like to welcome everybody here on the leadership team and some past members too. So thank you for everyone here, and this will be reposted. And Will, I'm going to just do a quick intro on you. It is posted on the Facebook group and also our CRS NER, New England Region page. But I will be speaking a little bit on your bio. Will Catlin Jr. is a partner and managing principal of BRA, and he oversees a commercial leasing division as well as strategic growth for the firm. And he leads a group of client-centric professionals in both tenant rep and also agency leasing. And since 2017, this is quite impressive, the leasing division has leased over 1.5 million square feet. So establishing BRA as a market leader for tech advertising, media, and information office sector. So Will and his team are currently marketing the most diverse cross-section of commercial properties throughout the Back Bay, Financial District, Seaport, SoWa, Somerville, and East Cambridge. Again, Will's thought leadership is regularly seen in national, local, and trade publications, and he steers the growth of the full-service firm as well as a formed internal sense of community that nurtures loyalty, philanthropy, and camaraderie. So Will, I'd like to take it away, have you take it away, and we can also open this up for a lot of Q&A, and Christine will be monitoring the chat.
Thank you very much for those very kind words. Thank you for inviting me. This is a wonderful opportunity to share, how between a residential component and a commercial component, we can sort of exchange our collective customer and benefit from that. And the piece that I've learned in my nearly 22 years in doing this is it's not done very well. It appears that those that are in the commercial lane don't refer somebody to residential, and those in the residential lane don't confirm or refer somebody to commercial. And my modus operandi is to make sure that all of our listings are available across the entire enterprise, be that broker, residential, or commercial. So all of our listings, we represent 317 buildings from Mass Ave to the waterfront, Seaport to mid-Cambridge, and every listing that has availability is an MLS service. The idea behind that is it's a wonderful opportunity to extend to that residential platform so they know, wow, Will has 44 buildings on Newbury Street that he represents. I have a client that wants to be on Newbury Street. I'll call Will. And that starts the conversation. And what I then do is it's relatively, quickly you find out somebody's expertise. Are they calling sort of like, I don't know how this works and I have a question, or I know exactly how this works and I'm trying to figure out what the availability is and what it's priced at. And once I understand that, then I can say, hey, I'm more than happy to have you continue with your regular business line, which might be selling homes, it might be selling project sales, might be doing any number of things. And I'm happy to keep you involved in all the conversation and pay you a referral fee for your client. And those referral fees, it's disclosed. So there's a document exchanging hands back and forth. So both parties clearly understand exactly what it is. There's no confusion. And so often what I've found is the residential broker, the residential agent, the residential production person doesn't understand what the fee is or what it might be or could be. So I take an example of a 10,000 square foot tenant. I like simplistic of math, so I apologize for that. But understanding that the average tenant in the city of Boston is 8,100 square feet. So you think about the biggest buildings, the smallest buildings, how big is it? Well, that's sort of the average. So I take 10,000. And when you think about an office tenant, office tenants are there for a period of time because there's the cost to fit up the space, the cost to move into the space, the cost to get furniture, et cetera. So it's not transient like an apartment rental for year to year. And if they're spending considerable capital on that space, it's 5, 7, 10, 15, or 20 years. So they're long-term leases. So when I think about that 10,000 square foot tenant moving into a Class A tower for 10 years, all right? So I take 10,000, I multiply it by 10, okay? And then there is the price per square foot that the landlord is going to pay for that occupancy. In today's market right now, landlords are paying $2 per square foot for that occupancy for that duration of time. So that fee, my math, simple math, is $200,000. That fee is paid in some cases 100% on lease signing, or 50% on lease signing and 50% on occupancy. So the day they move in, let's just assume those are on the same day, you're getting paid $200,000 for that piece of that tenant moving into that building. There's a lot of, as is just like purchasing a home, just like any real estate transaction, there's a lot of work to get there. But in a conversation with Nora, you know, how many checks does a residential broker see that are of $200,000 range? And the answer was, there's not a lot, right? We aspire to receive that. And a 10,000 square foot tenant is only slightly larger than the average. So if you said somebody was leasing 100,000 square feet for 10 years, you can see how the math changes. So the idea behind this is that's the office occupier. Those fees are also paid for retail. So when you think about, geez, I have somebody who needs retail space, what is that worth? Those are in more cases paid on a percentage basis, but you know, not to sort of get all wrapped around how much fee for this and how much fee for that. But the important part of this entire process is we work so hard to find a customer who believes in us, who likes doing business with us, and relies on us for real estate advice. The piece that I find very important, and I talk to many, again, people in commercial and residential, when I talk to a residential transaction person, I said, do you often sell to people within the C-suite? Believe it or not, everyone always says yes. Of course I do. Okay. So now that we understand that you're selling to folks in that genre, the notion on extending your advisory services to encompass commercial and residential, there's nothing wrong with that, right? You're there as their advisor and seeking to help them. If they value you and value your opinion and value your advice, then you can say, great, I've got a great network of people that can help with this. Because I think it's very important if somebody is renting somebody an apartment on the Cape, if somebody is selling them a condo in the city of Boston and leasing office space on 128, it's probably very difficult to be an expert in all three lanes. But it's very easy to say, I have experts in all of those areas. And that's the part when I talk to somebody initially on the phone, it's pretty easy to understand where their expertise starts and stops. So that way I can sit there and say, I am more than happy to help you. And I also say, if you want to do the transaction yourself, nobody's going to get in your way. The question is, what tools do you have? What market intel do you have? What knowledge do you have about how this occurs, about the expectations of that lease, about what concessions the landlord should or shouldn't give? What are the recent concessions that a landlord has given, right? Because we all look at market comparables as our oxygen in this process. And the notion, if I can say, this is what happened on the 3 most recent leases, the John Hancock Tower, oh, versus I don't know. So when I go back to, when I think about that residential agent who is talking to their client about buying that new home in Sherburne, how wonderful it is, how much they love it. They just spent $2.6 million and they're super excited. Then come to find out, yeah, they moved here and they have the CFO position for a private company that employs, 1,000 people. Wow. Are you involved in the real estate process for the company? Person says, yes, I am. Really? I would love to offer some advice, some guidance, and some direction on who can assist you in that process. And the person could say, well, we've been using the same company for 20 years, which we hear an awful lot. The person could also say, we use the same company that we've been using for 20 years, but I'm new and I would love to meet people that, geez, perhaps could help in a different way. I'd love to perhaps talk to others. So that is the point on which if Nora was the person extending that opportunity to me, and she says, Will, I'd like you to meet, my client. And again, there it is. Then great. So now we start that process. And again, if I get the benefit on being hired, as everybody knows, we've all paid some level of a referral to a referring agent in another city, in another state, in another market that just doesn't do this. This is absolutely no different. And the idea behind that is you go back to your customer and your customer says, isn't that amazing on how Nora understood what I needed from a home? She understood that my company was growing and I'm there to make the company grow and help the company grow. And then she's offered me somebody who can assist in that process. Now, what goes on between Nora and I doesn't have to be any part of the customer's process. They don't have to worry about that. None of their information. The important part of this is when I tell the proverbial agent of the world of the market, whoever's referring that opportunity, you can be involved or not involved. It just depends on what you want, because so often people have another business, they're selling homes, they're doing what they're doing, and they can't necessarily be walking around the city of Boston looking at office space. They need to know that their client is taken care of. Because in my business, literally, we go for a walk. In your business, perhaps you're getting in the car and driving for that. So what does that equate to mathematically? So let's go all the way back to that $200,000 check that rolls in the door for the new tenant moving into a Class A tower in the city of Boston. Great. What would the agent expect to receive? So our process is a 20 to 25% referral, depending if it's a pitch or a no pitch. And I say that with some level of flexibility because so often somebody's at a cocktail party and they hear the proverbial, oh, ABC's looking, but they don't have any information that's actually, helpful, usable. They don't have a relationship with a person. So that becomes somewhat, for lack of a better term, fuzzy, because we all know that somebody's looking to buy a home, somebody's looking to lease office space. In my business, we call it the tenant in the market list. We all have the list, right? So if somebody's saying somebody who's on the list and they want a fee for that, yeah, there's no money to be given, right? Because we already know. But then take it down saying, hey, it's a wonderful referral from Nora. It's a 10,000 square foot tenant. I sign a fee agreement with Nora, referral agreement, so she knows exactly what to expect. And then I'm utter transparency, share absolutely everything going on, and send her a check for $50,000. And all Nora did was enhance her relationship with her client in a way that serves her client. And I tell people, if somebody says, geez, I really want to lease a single room office in Rehoboth. If you don't know where Rehoboth is, it's one of the 351 towns that we have. And I'm like, I can't help you. And I'm honest, transparent. And so often somebody says, my client wants, I'm like, your client has unrealistic expectations. I can't help them, right? No different than saying, I want my starter home. I'm going to pick on the Sherburne market again. I want a 4-bedroom new construction in Sherburne for $275,000. Yeesh, it just doesn't exist. I appreciate that you're a buyer and you'd like to live in Sherburne, that we love, but your expectations are non-realistic. And I try to be honest about what I can do and what I can't do. And I can only be the advisor in the transactional process where the transaction can perform. And if somebody has expectations that are far aflung, doesn't matter. I can't help you. So that's how I try to do it. And as a result of that, I've done many, many, many transactions where the residential advisor is on MLS, and there's about 36 or 37,000 agents on MLS on any given, have membership. That's a really big audience. So you'll find if you go out there and look for Will Catlin, you will see literally probably 100 different listings available. And it starts the conversation. It starts the conversation because I look at being that ambassador for the office market. Now I can go in much more detail. I want to be very high end on this so people aren't so focused, but let's go back to and just think about 10,000, 10 years of term, $200,000 fee, $50,000 check to Nora for enhancing the relationship with her client. Now, with that, we can turn over to questions, which may go down further down a rabbit hole, which I'm more than happy to do. And I can talk about other scenarios if you'd like.
So I'll go down the rabbit hole.
Great.
I've been known to do that every once in a while. So When you have the fee agreement, is that something that you generate or that we would generate, or just like, is that something that you already have?
Super flexible, right? And in some cases, I found that the residential agent says, let me send you my referral agreement because this is their customer. They control it near and dear. And I don't want to be, sending something to them that is my 99-page fee agreement. If they have a one-pager, I love that, right? It's their document, their agreement. I'm going to look at it. I'm pretty knowledgeable on what these things should look like, and I'm going to send it off to them. Absolutely. And they're going to send me theirs. I'm going to sign it and send it back. Very simple. Yes.
And for example, use Rehoboth, or you have 6 states here in New England region. How would you go about referring if somebody were, looking at Rehoboth? How would a real estate agent, residential, find a commercial broker, any that is in that particular area?
Great question. Great question. So when you think about the market, right, there's 82 million square feet in the Boston urban core of office space. And as you moved out of that and say outside of 128 and outside of 495 and so on, it becomes smaller, and very small. So if a residential agent doesn't have access to a commercial database, and a commercial database that I subscribe to is CoStar. CoStar is a NASDAQ traded stock. It's a subscription-based only service, pay a lot of money, but it has this beautiful dashboard of data. But residential agent sitting there on MLS, because again, think about this, not everybody's proficient like Boston Realty Advisors putting all of their listings in MLS. What can they do? They can look at LoopNet. Now, LoopNet is also owned by CoStar, but some people would put it on LoopNet, but would not put it on MLS. And that would be a great way for that residential advisor to say, I'm searching in the Rehoboth area, because if you're looking for a buyer's agent in a particular home and you're not from that area, you're going to look over the last 12 months, who represented a buyer between a price point that you care about or between a size that you care about to offer you that intel on who you're looking to hire. That's where I'd go as LoopNet.
Okay. And that's an open source, or do you have to subscribe to that?
No, LoopNet is free. LoopNet has different iterations. So my company, we put about 60 of our listings on LoopNet. Everything's on CoStar. Not everything's on LoopNet. So you're not going to see the whole universe, but you're going to see some of it.
Okay. And then I have a question from Kurt Thompson. Are you finding that Crexi, CREXI, is an effective marketing tool in addition to CoStar and LoopNet?
So there is a ton of them. And CoStar is sort of the 300-pound beast in the marketplace, right? And Crexi, LoopNet, Craigslist, oh my God, build out. It goes on and on and on where you want to start and stop. Boston is known as a CoStar town. So as a result of that, since CoStar owns LoopNet, I would de facto to LoopNet. But at the end of the day, a little bit of use with a Google, you're going to find out who's got that place for lease in Rehoboth that can help me. Because at the end of the day, a person who advertises in that market hopefully transacts in that market and can be an advisor to your client looking for that market.
Any other questions? I have another one. Is feel free to write them or just write. Oh, here, Greg has one. Go ahead, Greg, from Connecticut.
Yeah, the point that I'd like to make is I'm aware of the databases. I've chosen to not go and embark for that search for the property. I'd rather have the database be the professional, be the person like Will, know the geographic area, know the property, type, and then make that referral and step aside and then let Will do his thing and find that property. Because it's nice to be, for me, I don't practice commercial. I don't practice rentals. And I like being able to say to my errors and emissions insurance, which is up for renewal right now, no, I don't do that. I have a network referral. So I like the idea of the geographic identification and handoff.
The piece of that is if you don't know anybody in the Rehoboth market that does any office leasing, then you're calling Will in Boston. I look at you and I say, I don't do that. I know that we do work together, but I don't do that. But I would say, if you looked at LoopNet on somebody that's advertising in that market, that's the expert that I'm looking for. So at my business, we represent clients nationally. So they're looking in Topeka, And we don't have an office in Topeka, Kansas today. So we look for what we consider best of breed in Topeka. And best of breed is somebody that does tenant transactions in that market within a certain size and range that says, great, those are the bookends that we're looking for. Because somebody who's never done a transaction, you probably wouldn't want to hire to have your best client call. Because, geez, if you've never done one, I know you're practicing in real estate, but you've never done a transaction. Do I really want to give my best client to you to buy that $3 million house in Sherburne? Probably not. I'm
Right.
going to go with somebody that's at least done it, I don't know, maybe once before, who knows what those bookends are.
So you're saying use LoopNet. CoStar's closed, so we're not able to see it, but as a residential practitioner, you're saying look at LoopNet, or maybe look at the directory in RRC and cross match those. No different than a
Exactly.
residential level. On
Because at the end of the
Zillow,
day,
we can
you're
see
looking
all-
for a couple of names of somebody that you can pick up the phone and say, I've got a very important client of mine that I've worked with for 20 years. They need to open a facility in Rehoboth. And I noticed that you do some business there. Can we dialogue about that to figure out if my client's the right fit for you and your business?
100%, I agree. I like that. I like that phone call, and I like that seeing if the way that we operate and the clients used to operating is in alignment with what you do. So that's great.
And that unto itself is the most important part, because if you've got a long-standing relationship with somebody that you've helped them grow, you've done business with their kids and their friends, and they refer stuff to you, and then you refer it to an individual in the Rehoboth market who is an absolute clown and disaster, it's a reflection on you. And how is that going to go the next time they want to sell or buy a piece of real estate? They're going to remember, geez, Greg, it was great, but that guy was a clown and he was a disaster, and I ended up firing him. And what we don't know is we do not know how that professional relationship is going to extend. But the piece that I look for, particularly when I'm trying to find a broker in another market that I don't perform in, is I'm going to use CoStar, I'm going to use LoopNet. I'm then going to go check on LinkedIn. Okay, they've been doing it for more than a week and a half. Okay, that feels right. Okay, they're an expert. So that provides some additional credibility, because when I go back and talk to my clients saying, geez, I vetted this out. I found 10 that are really in that market. I found 3 that seem to be experts within the modus operandi that you're looking for. And I connected with 3 of them, and I really like Joe. Joe's a great guy. We connected. Turns out he went to college where I went to college. We're a couple of years apart, but we have that connection. So when that handoff goes, it's not cold, it's warm, because at the end of the day, for Nora to get the $50,000 check, which she is ready to spend, she's all about it. She wants to know that we're gonna connect and we're gonna jive. I'm not talking about economic belief, religious belief, socioeconomic belief, no, but that we're of a level that can perform for your client.
So Will, I had asked you this before. What happens when the lease is up for renewal?
Great question. So in many cases, these are annuities that go from year or 10 years to 10 years to 10 years. I love the cat, Christine. What's the cat's name?
He loves Zoom.
He loves him. Love that. So when leases are up for renewal, typically what happens is I might get a call, and this has happened from the residential broker, after the lease is renewed. So it's already happened. And they call me saying, where's my check? I'm like, that was 5 years ago. I've stayed in touch with the client and they've never referenced you at all. And I didn't really know that you were a part of it. To the other extreme, where I share with a person, it's a 5-year lease, and they say, great, I do a lot of business with this person, I'd love to stay involved. And that is completely up to you at whatever level you would like. So sometimes what happens is I get an email from the referring residential broker 3 years out saying, hey, my client, Josephine, would love to renew her lease. It's been a very great business for her. You did reference that I could be a part of that as long as I was ahead of it and not behind it. Absolutely. Then we'll email everybody so they're all on the same page. And again, not that the referral piece, but my expectation, because I send out like a lot of holiday cards a year, about 725, because I want everyone to know what I do so everyone can sort of be ahead of it. I am more than happy to pay that referral fee, provided that the referring agent is involved. And if they choose to be involved, wonderful, absolutely not a problem. all the same work exists and their involvement is just that. I'm here, here's my client again. Because sometimes that CFO finance person may have changed, but they deal with the owner of the company and they just want to know who those names are.
Thank you. Any other questions that we have for Will regarding anything about, on MLS? I'm curious, what happens when it's just a month to month? I've seen that. As a matter of fact,
So when you think about that, let's go back to
Report.
10,000,
Mhm.
divided by, 120 months or 10 years. There's no fee. So people aren't paying commissions on 1 month transactions. For example, I represent 44 buildings on Newbury Street. If somebody wants a pop-up store for 90 days during the marathon, which these come to me every year, I'm not a retail broker, but I have people that reach out to me because my name's on all these buildings. I don't even ask for a fee for a 90-day pop-up store. And that pop-up economic could be 50% of the market price, no fee at all. And in some regards, the landlord likes the pop-up because it puts activity in. Sometimes, it could be a sneaker company wants to sort of try out the street and figure out, is it the right street for them? Does it have the right experience? So they want to try. And then if a transaction consummates after that, and this is the important part, I tell the landlord client, I would like to be a part of the transaction should you consummate more than a pop-up storefront.
Mhm.
And that works. So think about it. You refer me, the sneaker company that's going to solve all sneakers for the rest of the populace of the world. They're a wonderful sneaker company. They do a pop-up store. Then they do a 10-year deal after the pop-up. Then you would be referred for the 10-year, not the pop-up.
Interesting.
Yep.
Do we
And
have-
the
go
piece
ahead.
that I find very important is there's no right or wrong. A lot of the residential folks that I'm talking to, you guys have all seen enough, done enough, and you know what those bookends look like and as far as what a transaction looks like. The same thing occurs on the commercial side. There's bookends that make sense, right? Somebody's referring somebody for a month-to-month transaction. There's no economic there. But where there is an economic, that's the piece. And I'm very transparent. I will share that up front on what those expectations are.
Thank you. It looks like MJ has a question. Go ahead.
Well, thanks again, Will. Really good information.
My pleasure.
I think one of the issues residential agents have is the access to the commercial folks. I have some commercial credentials. I've been doing small commercial works, apartment buildings, small industrial buildings for many, many years. And I usually can get through to commercial agents for referrals because of my credentials, but many, many agents cannot penetrate that barrier because they just have a lot of these commercial agents just have a mindset that the residential agent is just wasting their time. So any advice to some of the folks on the call to try to get through to somebody that will actually take your phone call or call you back?
It's a great question. So thank you for asking. So first and foremost, I have a business opportunity I would like to refer to you. You seem to be a market leader in that segment. Please call me back. And when we're transparent about that, I don't know anybody in the free world that wouldn't say, I don't know, I have one of these things and I'm going to call that person back because they've got a business opportunity. And it depends on how you package it, because sometimes I get an email from somebody or a call and I'm ABC with XYZ apartment rentals and I'm looking for office space for my friend. Great, keep looking. But if you want to, if I can help you and I can be an advisor, great, but don't call me to pick my brain. And that's where commercial agents, and rightfully so, the expert residential agents, we're not here to share our internal market data with you to up your game, but we are here to help you if you want to be helped. And that is the difference. So sometimes people have to be, the residential agents has to be willing to sort of be transparent about what they want. But in your particular market, you can win very, very well at that lane. Furthermore, you've got industry expertise, market knowledge. And some of the markets outside of the core of downtown Boston, where I focus on, you will have a residential person doing commercial transactions and a commercial person doing residential transactions. It just depends on how big the market is. But I would say be very specific and clear about what you're asking for when you're calling one of your commercial peers.
To extend MJ's thought there, I think having that relationship, if it is local, if you are local and you are both in the same market, having the relationship first before you have that referral actually is even better, because then they know you're my go-to commercial person. I'm going to be, whenever I get somebody, they're coming to you.
Yep.
And you'll get that phone call. Having that relationship first.
So with that, I have a person who has sold her residential company to another company, bigger. She says, I only call you, Will. Anything commercial, I only call you. We have somebody that does commercial at our company. I don't know them. I don't care. I just call you. Because at the end of the day, you know, let's just be clear. If we have a listing opportunity in the market and we have two offers, one offer is from somebody that we've transacted with over the past 10 years on numerous occasions, and one is from somebody we've never heard of before. We have more comfort in the person that we've transacted with. So Greg, we are spot on. There are networking events, there is LinkedIn, there's lots of ways of expanding your network to say, how do I connect with a person like Greg? So when I have a need in Greg's market, I can just call Greg. Now, you know, that's kind of like buying the fire truck before the fire occurs. But if we're willing to plan a little bit, or at least broaden those relationships a little bit, you will find people are very receptive to talk to somebody.
Well, thank you so much, Will. It looks like we are past our 12:30 hard stop. I'm very excited that you shared so much.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
That said, for the leadership team who's on, we have Ann Enos from Rhode Island is doing crossing state lines, meaning if you're a broker in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, there's going to be a class and it will be posted on the Facebook page and group. It's going to be in Bellingham this Thursday morning. So if you want to mark your calendars.
With
please
CE.
check.
It has C, Massachusetts and Rhode Island CE.
Yes, and it has CE units that are available too. And then Christine has a quick announcement to
Yeah.
just save the date.
Yep, letting you guys know we have we're scheduling the probate course certification, which is fantastic. It's an 8-hour day on working with probate clients, building a business. It'll be March 21st at MAR headquarters in Foxborough with Buddy West. I'm just waiting on the registration link and we'll be publishing it. And I'll put that in the chat. And the other thing I just want to put in the chat, if you're going to Celebrations and you are there on Friday the 10th, if you haven't registered to go to Mark Gordon and John Young's dinner, that's the link to it if you want to go. So
Okay.
It's a ton of fun. It's a great networking event. It's unofficial, but they do it all the time.
Do I get to go?
If you're going to Atlanta.
I'll see you down in Atlanta, Will. I really want to thank you again, finally again, for joining us, Will. I know you have a really busy day, especially on Mondays. And if you want to check out Will, all his info is on, his bio is on the group page. And feel free to reach out to Will or it was great. I never knew about Crexy or any of that, the loop and all that. So thanks a lot, Will. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Take care.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.